Hi, Ben Bateman here, online content producer for Square Enix, and I'm with Dan from United Front Games. So Dan, what are we showing at E3 for Sleeping Dogs? What's on the show floor? What's behind the scenes?
We got a lot of cool stuff happening here at E3. So on the show floor, we've got a hands-on with Night Market Chase, which is a really exciting hand-to-hand martial arts mission with some free running as well. And you get introduced to some of the main characters you'll get to know as the story progresses. In the theater, we're showing New Boss, a mission we haven't shown before that really is a heavy emphasis on shooting and kind of calls a lot of the cool John Woo slow-mo style moments. You're shooting through a club, basically a rival gang is sort of infringing your turf. You told them to take off. They've decided to come back with a bunch of guys with guns. They're shooting up your bar, so you're pushing them back slowly out of the bar, and then a massive gunfight ensues outside of the bar, people taking cover behind cars. Wipe all of them out, jump in a car, and you get chased by triads in cars and bikes. And another, massive shooter, like a rail shooter, where your allies driving, you're shooting them down. From there, jump out, and there's a rival boss, Ponytail. You do a free run section through a parking lot, through a dense part of Hong Kong, and then at the end we cut there. But in the regular mission, you'd actually get into a hand-to-hand boss fight against Ponytail.
Well, that sounds kind of cool. I mean, we haven't really seen anything intense like that except from the trailers. I mean, we've seen a lot of the combat, but yeah, so the gunplay and how it all flows. I mean, can you talk more about how you've tried to make it so they're not even like segregated parts, like driving, combat, stuff like that?
We've really tried to make it feel very seamless so that it's not a mission, this is my driving mission, this is my shooting mission, but taking a cue from action films, especially sort of a lot of the martial arts ones, is how quick and seamless they're able to go from hand-to-hand combat to all of a sudden you're chasing after someone to then now there's some knives and they're having a knife fight to then someone pulls out a gun and escalates from there, and then there's a gunfight, jumping in cars, chasing around through the city. We really captured all of that in the game and in the missions so that the player gets to feel like they're an action hero themselves.
That's cool, and you kind of touched on Hong Kong cinema a bit, and I know you've talked about it a lot in interviews. But for those people who haven't watched Internal Affairs, Departed, why is Hong Kong cinema so important to you guys?
Hong Kong cinema does a great job of kind of capturing high-intensity action moments while still making them, very cinematic. I think John Woo, a lot of his styles crossed over into sort of more Western Hollywood-type films, and the way he captures action of big explosions to slow-mo moment where the doves are flying by. We actually have a sort of a nod to John Woo in one of our scenes where you're in big shootout and a couple like birds fly by. But yeah, and so they do a great job of keeping up that action and excitement, and again sort of being very seamless from shooting and fighting and running, driving. All of them kind of work well into each other. So people who aren't aware of Hong Kong cinema or aren't fans, they don't need to be. They'll appreciate the excitement, the energy, the big explosions, the huge battles and brawls. I think there's something cool when you see like a Jackie Chan or Jet Li and they're surrounded by 20 enemies. You're like, and they've got their fists and everyone else has got knives and weapons. You're like, how are they ever going to get out of this? But they do, and they often take objects in the environment and use it against their enemies. And we've done the same thing with our combat props. Grab a guy, throw him into a dumpster, take his face, put it into a grill, pick up a guy and drop him on a swordfish head. So there's a huge variety of different things in the world that you can use to kind of turn the tables.
Yeah, the takedowns are probably my favorite thing for sure. Again, Hollywood cinema, sorry, not Hollywood, Hong Kong cinema kind of focuses on undercover cop, that kind of storyline. How do you take that kind of plot mechanic and keep it fresh and engaging?
I think we've tried to do sort of a different take than what a lot of people have done in the past with undercover cop games or even movies, where we've really tried to spend a lot of time on showing the conflicted loyalties that way our main character feels. He starts out the game and he's trying to do good. He's sworn to uphold the law, but to keep his cover, first he's got to rough up a few guys. Then he actually has to potentially chop someone with a cleaver, and it keeps escalating, getting worse and worse. And kind of some of the twists that we have is that some of the bad guys, you think he actually befriends some of them and realizes that they're not necessarily bad guys. They were just wrong time, wrong place, wrong situation, tough upbringing, whatever it may be. and he also then starts to look at some of the cops that he deals with, and starts to question their motives and why their methods and how they get things done, and which one is worse in some cases. So there's quite a few plot twists as well, and throughout the game, through nightmare sequences and other things, you really start to see the internal turmoil and stress that Wei is feeling.
Okay, that's cool. Obviously, Sleeping Dogs has been in development for a little while now. We've seen it at various points. We saw it like E3s like a few years ago and stuff like that. It's obviously kind of changed. It's looking better. But how has community feedback fed into that? Has it had a huge impact in the way that you develop the game, and since Square has taken it over?
Yeah, definitely it's had a huge impact. I think through different community events that we've done, through user testing, in London, in Montreal, in Vancouver, where we are United Front Games, all of those, we've gotten a variety of different people in, and different play styles and abilities, and taking all that feedback to really try and polish the experience and make it accessible to everyone, but the hardcore gamers can get in there and really master moves, and someone who wants more of just a fun masher, they can play that way as well. So it's been awesome. And then Square's been a great partner with us, and I think they've got a really good link to the community. So that's all channeled back into our feedback and what we're working on.
That's good to hear. We're doing our job properly then, hey? So you've got, it's coming out, August now? So a few months now. What are you doing in the last few months?
Mostly just taking it easy, sleeping, chilling out.
Yeah, drinking.
Yeah. It's a pretty exciting time on a project. It's obviously grueling, as you probably see with the bags under my eyes. But it's also really cool because the game's all there, the content's there, and now we're focused on obviously bug fixing, but polishing and again doing some more user testing almost daily of getting someone in fresh, making sure that things that are obvious to us are obvious to the player, the button combinations, everything feel good, feels intuitive. It's cool. It's all those little details that really make a big difference between sort of a decent game and a great game.
Excellent. And we've got a few questions here directly from the community. One from Twitter here, just asking, how do you keep Hong Kong alive? Does the environment change? Can we expect different weather? What are the NPCs like? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, Hong Kong itself is an amazing backdrop for the game. Something that's pretty unique and hasn't been shown a lot before. So it's got a cool kind of combination of Eastern and Western culture meet, where you've got a massive skyscraper and right beside it a 1,000-year-old temple. And you're able to free run and climb over a lot of these elements and really get to explore the city on vehicles, on foot, and as well even on boat around the city itself. And we've got night and daytime that kind of progress, and a variety of different weather systems. So you'll start out in the game and it's a massive storm. That one is obviously sort of a planned, we set the weather, but most of the other times it's dynamic, and so you can go light rain, heavy rain, storm, sunny, bright, cloudy. So the world itself always feels like it's dynamic and it's alive.
And you talked briefly there just about the boat scenes and the boat chases. We've seen a lot of car chases, way jumping from car to car, really cool mechanic. We got a glimpse of the boat scenes, the boat chases in the last trailer, but other than that, we don't know much about it. Could you elaborate on how that works, how often it happens, what can you do in a boat?
Yeah, we've got the boats, obviously Hong Kong being an island, it was important to get the boats, be able to travel around. We've got like offshore gambling dens, little smugglers' coves, all these different elements that you're able to jump in a boat and go and kind of cruise around the city, check out things from sort of the outside of the island. But as well, we do have missions where there's sort of you're chasing after someone in a boat. We have shooting between boats. We even have a sequence where Wei jumps from one boat onto the other. So yeah, there's some cool stuff that we haven't really shown much of yet, but I'm sure we'll be revealing more in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Another trailer, I'm sure. Yeah. The last question from the community, will we be getting a demo?
Yes. No. I'm not saying yet. No, we haven't announced anything yet, so I think there'll be some news, probably more things. We're still talking about the game over the next month or two.
So there are no decisions, no announcements. I mean, you guys are pretty much concentrating on making sure the game's polished anyway, right?
Yeah, that's really our main focus, is getting the core game done. And like I said, there's some more cool stuff that we'll be revealing soon.
Yeah. And if we're announcing it, it'll be on the website, usual places, Twitter, Facebook, right?
That's exactly right.
Brilliant. And last question, and this is just a general question. What's your favorite thing about working on Sleeping Dogs? And that can be just your involvement in the project or an actual feature that you just love to bits.
I'll give one of both. I would say what I love about working on Sleeping Dogs, the team is amazing. I mean, it's a variety of different sort of styles. We've got a few people who are very martial arts oriented, train themselves, so they bring that into the gameplay itself. But it's a cool title to work on. They're open world, obviously. There's opportunity for one guy's working on, setting up the karaoke mini game, while someone else is working on this like massive shooting sequence, and they all tie together into one game in, a backdrop that before working on the game, a lot of us had never been to Hong Kong, and now we're sort of like soaked in Hong Kong. People, a lot of the characters in the game speak Cantonese, and a lot of the ambient pedestrians in the world as well. So you almost get a sense of culture shock. Driving on the left-hand side of the road, like all these different subtleties that it's cool. It feels like almost every day we're living in Hong Kong.
Excellent. So thank you for answering our questions. I hope you have a good E3.
Thanks a lot, and yeah, looking forward to showing you guys more very soon.
Cheers.